Hi, everybody. Tom O'Connor here. Welcome back to the Discovery Channel. I'm speaking today with an old friend, older than we both knew, which I'll mention in a minute. Um, uh, Drew Goletz is the new owner of Docusource, a long-standing service bureau here in New Orleans. Anybody from New Orleans probably knows the name. Um, uh, my old friend Connie Nichols is one of the co-owners with her partner Kate Sloan. Connie and I had gone back to the early days of summation. We both went through summation certified training together, which was how we met. Drew Goletz, however, has stepped in as both of those ladies have retired and purchased it. And Drew is a New Orleans native. He's going to tell you a little about this. I'm going to just remark how this is such a small world. As we were having discussions uh, about working together, it turned out that we had, like ships passing in the night, known each other or come across each other on some various pieces of litigation over the years, going back to the 90s. New Orleans, of course, is a hotbed for class actions and MDLs, with the circuit court being located here, kind of an established bank of judges who are technically savvy. So we got a lot of those MDL actions. And unbeknownst to either of us, Drew and I had worked on a lot of those together. So, Drew, thanks for joining us. Um, so tell everybody a little about yourself. You're from New Orleans originally, is that right?
Yes, I am. Thanks, Tom, for having me on here. It's great to chat with you as always. Yeah, I'm a New Orleans native. I grew up in New Orleans. Grew up on the West Bank. Went to Holy Cross High School.
Huh?
Then went to Southeastern, where I got my degree there. And then after doing a couple of different things, I ended up working in litigation support. I actually had no idea that this industry existed. Uh, like most people that get into it, I had no idea that this industry existed, and was a copy scan guy for a long time, and then sort of evolved with the industry. For those of us that have been doing this a long time, you remember selling scanning technology as the new hot thing, and then lo and behold, there would be this electronic data that nobody knew what to do with,
Yeah,
and these things
yeah.
called PSTs and native documents, and attorneys needed to review them, and they needed solutions, and
Copy, label, copy, right?
yeah. And back then we were using a tool called Law Pre-Discovery, which is still around.
Oh, yeah.
But that was the newest technology, and that's how we would process data using that and iPro and a couple of other different tools to make documents searchable so that attorneys could review them. And then as document population started growing, we all went over to the hosting side and collecting data and doing all of the new and exciting things that we do in e-discovery, which is data collections, forensics, processing, and hosting, document review. But yeah, I got my start in New Orleans, and started on the copy scan side. Like you said, copy, label, copy. Manually Bates labeling things at night and bringing them to attorneys' offices in the morning. Uh, that was part of the regular routine before we got to the place that we are today, where we're hosting documents in different review platforms and looking at AI and all the different tools that are available now with these larger document populations that everybody has to deal with.
So tell me, why Docusource? I mean, were you just mad to get back to New Orleans? Were you, um,
No, that's a great question. So the answer, yes. Anybody that's from New Orleans knows what a special place it is and what it's like to miss New Orleans. Like the song says. Uh, but I had an opportunity. I knew somebody that worked at Docusource who introduced me to the former owner,
uh,
who was interested in retiring, but really wanted to see the legacy carry on. And it was important to her and her partner that somebody from New Orleans take it over. As you know, New Orleans is a very unique legal industry, or legal market, I should say. And it was really important to them to have somebody that knew the market, had ties to the market, and could sort of take over and hit the ground running. So with my background in paper copy scan work and having worked in the legal market and knowing some of the players there, it was a great fit. And that way they were able to carry the legacy on. I'm able to carry the legacy on. All of the employees were able to keep their jobs. We're able to still take care of our clients. So it was just a great fit. And the other great thing about it is they were primarily a copy shop. So there's, this organization that has been entrenched in the legal market for over 30 years and is still doing a lot of paper. So there's this opportunity now to help not only the market as a whole, but a lot of these paper clients and say, listen, there's some new ways we can do things. And so, we can collect this data remotely for you. We can take data off the server and put it in the cloud for you to review. You don't have to make all of these copies if you don't need to. We
Right.
still love to do that work because it's very profitable for us, but we also want to help to push the market forward and,
Move
and show
forward.
them
Yeah.
and show them new things that they can do and make their document review more efficiently and make them better for their clients.
And one thing that struck me as I first started coming down and talking to you, of course, I had been, you're located at 201 St. Charles Avenue, right?
That's
You're
correct.
literally in the heart of the central business district. You couldn't have a better physical location. And in fact, when I walked in, it was like deja vu all over again. People who know me know my son, Seamus, who's still in the business, actually worked for Connie and Kay for a couple of years when he first got out of college. Um, and uh, and so I'd been in the building many times. And so I walked in and it was like, wow. Um, but you're not restricted to New Orleans because of the nature of electronic documents. You don't want to be known as only a New Orleans business, right?
That's correct. And I'm glad that you made that distinction because while we are New Orleans based and the majority of our clients are in the Gulf Coast region, we do have cases that are hosted all over the country and we can collect data from all over the country. So yes, thank you for pointing that out. And that's a great distinction because we are nationwide. While we are New Orleans based, we do service clients all over. So thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah. So where do you see that? This is a topic we talk with people. We just had a discussion with one of our friends, Johnson Smith, that I forget what the current name.
King and Jurgens.
King and Jurgens the other day. Yeah, we had coffee with Johnson, who I've known for ages as well. We just naturally start talking about where things are going. Where do you see things going in our business? What's coming down the pike that's exciting to you, but also is a business opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously the one thing that everybody's talking about is AI, and I think that's changing daily, and we're going to
Let's
continue
see.
to see that.
We went 16 minutes before we mentioned AI.
Right. So AI obviously is the big thing that everybody's talking about, but I still think one of the things that you and I talk a lot about, and some of our other colleagues that we do some work with, is back to basics. I mean, document review is still document review. So no matter how technologically advanced you are, whatever AI tool you're using, human eyes still need to see things. They still need to review documents. There's still paper documents, which is crazy, but there's still warehouses of paper documents that people are going through. So I think you're going to continue to see AI, revolutionize things. You're going to see document review become more efficient. But I think, back to basics, people still need to have the conception or the concepts of basic document review and their legal practice, and that's never going to go away. And
Yeah.
I think we're going to continue to see that.
One thing, when you say that, back to basics, we're talking not just you and I, but a couple of our other friends in the business, Andrew Kent, the data badger. And, I don't mean to mention her last in any demeaning way at all, because she's the most dynamic of the four of us, Melissa Rogozinski-Rogo. Really well known for the e-discovery roundtable that she started a number of years ago when she was in Alabama. She's in Florida now, but we're planning a legal technology conference in New Orleans, which amazingly New Orleans has never had. There was one planned here years ago. Legal Tech years ago tried to plan one here. They might have actually done it, but I want to say it was scheduled just by happenstance. They didn't know it, of course, but it was scheduled for like the week after 9/11, which was not a big travel week in the country. And it hasn't been anything since. So we did one, myself and a couple people did one right after Katrina, more as a recovery conference than anything else. So we're planning one for April 7th, the Legal Technology Education Conference. And to your point, back to basics, we don't want to talk just about AI and litigation because it's across the board of how you manage your firm, right?
Absolutely, and that's a big part of it. And there's going to be some sessions on that, not just AI, but how to run your firm, things that weren't taught in law school. And then obviously, of course, technology is there. So we're going to talk about the future of legal technology and what you can expect and how to make things more efficiently. But yes, this is going to be a conference that is much more than AI. And not only will there be sessions, but there'll be workshops after, so you can see some of these things in practice. So it's a little bit of a different take on the standard legal technology conference where you go from session to session and you listen to a panel or you listen to somebody speak. You're actually going to have working sessions where you can see everything put into practice, and see the tools that are available to you. So I'm really excited about it. I know you are as well, and so are our colleagues. You know, one of the things about New Orleans that I always hear is that there's no technology here, but in the last 7 months that I've been there working, every law firm that I go into is using a review platform. Every law firm that I talk to is using somebody for forensics. E-discovery is very alive and well in New Orleans. It's just nobody really knows what anybody's doing because there's never been a centralized group or platform for everybody to get together and sound off on. And I hope that you and I can be that catalyst through Docusource and our technology conference that we're going to be putting on in April next year.
Yeah, I love the workshop idea. That of course is a real strength of Rogo, who used that concept in the e-discovery roundtable for years. Like, we're not going to be talking heads. We're going to sit you down at a computer and somebody's going to walk through what we're talking about so you can actually do it. Because that's what I see in New Orleans. Like you said, people are using things, but training is scarce. Um, and a central location where people can get information, can get a clearinghouse, if you will, for just technology information is scarce. So that's what's drawn me to our working together is, you know, we could hopefully will become as known as the place to go to get the answers to those questions. And again, because of our location, it's convenient for people who already are downtown. But because of the internet, we're convenient for everybody.
Yeah, and like you
But
said, we are essentially located in the CBD. It's a great building. A lot of the big firms are there, but we're also within walking distance of all of the other firms, which plays into, as you said, a meeting place, but also for going to meet with clients and see them in their offices, and funny enough, still pick up paper projects, which is still a part of our business
yeah,
as
I
well.
mean, yeah.
Uh, and
So, so what do you see going forward? What excites you about moving forward, not just for your business, but the profession as a whole?
you know, I I like seeing where things are going with the technology. Obviously, that's part of what you and I talk about every day. I like seeing the different platforms that are coming out. I like seeing the new tools coming out. Obviously, AI. I've really been trying to grab my head around it and using some of the different tools that are out there. And I'm in Claude daily trying to figure out how to make my day better and easier. And it's like you said, it changes so much. But it's interesting to see, especially in our conversation yesterday. We just talked to somebody that said they're using AI to respond to emails when they're out of the office. I think that's really interesting. I think that's something that we can use on our end, but it's also going to be interesting to see how this plays out if people are using emails or AI to respond to emails. What does that happen in litigation, right? What does that mean? When people are reviewing documents, did somebody actually write this? Did AI write this? And then, what does that mean for their responsibility? So I think,
Yes, that's a great point. Yeah.
we're in interesting times right now, and I'm really excited to see where it goes, and I'm really excited to be able to be a part of the driving force in the area that we're in to help people move forward with the technology. Like for me, that's a big deal because, like I said, everybody says New Orleans is backwards and there's no technology here. But when you talk to people, they're all using the tools. There's
Well,
no
yes.
common ground.
That's a really interesting point. There is no common ground. Well, and I've said it before. Um, saying that I use AI is like saying that I listen to music. Doesn't tell me anything about what it is you're doing. Um, um, and so yeah, I'd like us to be the place, and anybody who's listening to this, I hope they they think about this. If you get a question, call us, send us an email. If you're in the building or you're walking by, you're on your way to French Truck Coffee, stop in. We'll be happy to talk to you. We'd be happy to answer questions. Our good friend Dia Neff, who works in this space as well, local attorney and process agent. She's a wonderful resource. She said she was giving a presentation somewhere the other day, and somebody walked up to her afterwards, a lawyer, and said, "So how do I learn this AI stuff?"
Right.
She was like, "Well, you're covering a lot of territory there, my friend. Let's try to narrow the question down a little." But I think that's what it is in a lot of lawyers' minds, this AI stuff, and they're feeling overwhelmed. So,
yeah, and that's part of what excited me about us working together is that while yes, I've been doing this for 20 years and I do have a wealth of knowledge, it's great to have somebody like yourself, which also has a wealth of knowledge, and we can team up together and say, okay, this client has this problem. How do we solve this problem? And we can put our heads together. And you've worked with some of my project managers as well. It's like we have an entire team that we can all work together. As part of my own management philosophy of running other businesses and now my own business, I've never been a fan of the lone wolf mentality. I like to work together as a team and say, "Hey, Tom, I've got this problem. What do you think?" And then, we go to another project manager, Lori Spooner, who works with us, and say, "Lori, what do you think about this?" Like we did yesterday, and we were talking about a different review platform and how this firm uses it. And the three of us sat there and had this really great conversation about it. We go, "Okay, well, moving forward, we should consider these items." You know what I mean? And that was a really fruitful conversation. And that's one of the things that's exciting to me about working with you and being in the market together, is that we can all put our heads together and, make our clients better. So it's not, there's a benefit to Docusource, obviously, but it's also a huge benefit to our clients because they have a pool of resources that they can come to.
Right. And actually, before we proceed, I got to issue a correction. Once again, I pronounced Daya's name. I think I just said Dianef, which I do all the time. Dayanef, DAYANAEF.com is her site if you want to. She writes some really interesting things about workflow and how to not just take the first step, which we tend to concentrate on document review, but where it fits in the firm. And that's just becoming a bigger and bigger thing. You're hearing a lot of companies talking about now that Microsoft has formally released Coworks into the Copilot environment. That's sort of their ecosystem for AI across the board in the firm. And Google is about to do the same thing. You're seeing a lot of you mentioned Claude. You're seeing these companies. There's a lot of options out there. And if you're confused, well, so are we.
Right, exactly. No,
it just changed so fast. Things change so fast, but that's where I think you can set yourself up as the solution to that. Like we can be the answer to a lot of those questions. If we don't know the answer, we'll find it out for you.
Yeah, no, I certainly would like to be the resource for people in our region and even further. But yes, that's a great point and a great an exciting point and something that I'm really happy about and looking forward to working with you and everybody else in the area and Daya as well. One of the things that we've talked about with her is, process optimization within law firms and, helping them to become more efficient in their business models. Like, right.
Yep.
Because that, you can use technology, but you also, again, back to basics, you still have to know how to run the business and you have to know how to use the technology efficiently to run the back office stuff. And that's one of the things that we're going to talk about in our conference. We have a session on the back office stuff and how to efficiently run your law firm. And I think that that's another exciting part of our business when we look at litigation support as a whole, is how to support the firms do better, and become better,
And just so people know, back office stuff is a technological term.
Yes.
At least in our environment.
Yeah.
Well, great talking to you. Any last thoughts? Anything you'd like to mention that we haven't touched on, or?
No, I think we've actually talked about a lot. We talked a lot about Docusource. We talked about our conference. We talked about our relationship, and what our unified goals are moving forward, which I think is really important for everybody to know about as we move forward and continue to put ourselves out there. And it's great to be back home again. I'll leave it with
So,
that.
yep, you can reach me here. Docusource. The website is docusource.us.
Correct.
Big site there. You can contact Drew there. Um, and like I said, we're at 201 St. Charles, centrally located. If you're in the neighborhood and you want to just grab a cup of coffee, stop on by. Luckily, Drew and I are both coffee drinkers, so there's almost always a pot going for both of the
That is
houses.
actually absolutely true. There is almost always a
And
pot of
good
coffee
coffee.
going.
Good
Yes.
coffee. We insist on good coffee.
Yes. No cheap coffee in the office.
That's right. There you go. All right. Well, Drew, thanks so much for talking to me today as an intro. I'm sure we'll be doing some follow-ups of this on some. We'll focus in on some issues, and look forward to seeing you again.
All right. Thanks, Tom.
You bet.